Hi, this is the AI Storyteller. I'm Mark. In this issue, we present to you an interpretation of the Neapolitan novel series. This series has already sold over 10 million copies worldwide, making it one of the most remarkable and unique literary phenomena since the turn of the millennium. The Neapolitan novels have been translated into more than 40 languages around the world, and almost every publisher is amazed by the trajectory of its dissemination. It all started with a woman reading the entire series overnight, and then her curiosity led those around her to follow suit. In some cases, multiple generations within a family are simultaneously engrossed in this work, finding something captivating across different age groups. Behind the buzz, the author of this book, Italian writer Elena Ferrante, has remained hidden behind her pseudonym. For nearly 3 decades, she has only conducted interviews through mail and letters with her publishers, never revealing her face or identity. She once explained that anonymity is crucial for her writing. When her debut novel, Troubling Love, was published in 1992, Ferrante wrote to the publisher, explaining her decision to remain anonymous. "I can only tell you that this is a gamble I'm taking with myself and my convictions. I believe that books, once they are written, have no need of their authors. If they have something to say, they will sooner or later find readers. If not, they won't." In her own words from an interview, she didn't choose anonymity, but rather absence. The Neapolitan novels are often described as a female odyssey, an epic tale of women's destinies. However, gender doesn't pose a barrier for readers to enter the world of this novel. Ferrante's depiction of the post-World War II Naples slums and the lives of a group of individuals metaphorically embodies the timeless struggle between oneself and external circumstances. In this sense, the tetralogy narrates an odyssey of destiny. This is why The Atlantic places Ferrante alongside great epic authors. Preceding her are the ancient Greek poet Homer and the Roman poet Ovid. The 4 novels in the series are titled My Brilliant Friend, The Story of a New Name, Those Who Leave and Those Who Stay, and The Story of the Lost Child. Ferrante once mentioned in an email interview that the 4 novels aren't separate entities but rather a cohesive whole. This novel, spanning over 1,600 pages, revolves around the enduring friendship of the 2 female protagonists, Lila and Lenu, over a span of more than 50 years. Lila embodies a kind of intellect and experience that cannot be tamed by societal norms, while Lenu represents a highly institutionalized and hierarchical accumulation of knowledge. Let's start by briefly understanding the overall structure of the novel. My Brilliant Friend begins with a retrospective narrative. Renowned female author Lenu receives a call from her friend Lila's son, informing her that his mother, the 66-year-old Lila, has disappeared. Lenu is not surprised and sits down to write the story of their lives together. Her goal is to see who wins this time. Following Lenu's recollections, we enter the Naples of 1955. In a dilapidated neighborhood, every household has multiple children, and makeshift beds are set up in the living rooms at night to accommodate them. Lenu is the daughter of a municipal janitor, and her mother is a rough and limping housewife. The other female protagonist, Lila, is the daughter of a shoemaker, and she has a brother named Reno who helps out at the shoemaker's shop. The friendship between the 2 female protagonists is born out of a childhood prank. While playing in the courtyard, Lila suddenly throws Lenu's cloth doll into the cellar, which belongs to the most feared gangster in the neighborhood, Don Akil Karachi. Fearlessly, Lila marches into the Karachi household to retrieve the toy, and although terrified, Lenu follows suit. From that moment on, Lenu decides, whatever you do, I'll do it too. In the subsequent decades, this dynamic of Lila being active and Lenu being passive becomes almost a fixed pattern in their friendship. Through the eyes of Lenu and Lila, readers can glimpse many secrets of the neighborhood. Widow Melina falls in love with the charming railway worker Stefano, but when the Stefano family moves away to avoid a scandal, Melina loses control and curses them publicly. It's the first time Lenu and Lila realize how crazy and vulnerable women can become in the face of love. They also learn who truly holds power in the neighborhood and how they control the economic lifelines through dirty businesses like loans and drugs. One such family is the Solara brothers, who run a restaurant and pastry shop, appearing wealthy and respectable on the surface but engaging in nefarious activities behind the scenes. Another is the Carracci family, with the male head being the feared Don Achille whom Lila confronted to reclaim her doll. They run a butcher's shop, but it's common knowledge that they seized it from a carpenter. This neighborhood thrives on these individuals, and almost every family turns to them for loans when times get tough. Violence is the most prominent feature of this neighborhood. The violent social structure gives rise to a violent language, and the residents have learned from a young age to use crude language as the only means to defend themselves. Lila imparts this education to Lenyu as well. When Lenyu faces bullying from a group of boys, Lila confronts them with a leather-cutting knife. Lila also teaches Lenyu that when boys throw stones at her, she must pick up a stone from the ground and throw it back. These two girls both realize the power of knowledge. Remember the story of the doll? Don Achille didn't return the doll to them, but instead gave Lila some money. Lila used that money to buy a copy of Little Women. Together, she and Lenyu read the book and fantasize about earning money through writing to change their lives. It's worth noting that Little Women tells the story of women achieving independence through education and effort. Inspired by Little Women, Lila completes a novel called The Blue Fairy. However, the female teacher who once called Lila a genius reacts coolly to this novel, knowing that Lila's family won't send her to middle school. My brilliant friend may seem to narrate the intense and innocent childhood of the two girls, but the patterns of their destinies are already beginning to emerge. Despite Lila ranking first in grades, she is forced to drop out due to her shoemaker father's inability to afford tuition. Lenyu, burdened with her family's expectations, becomes one of the few girls in the neighborhood to continue to high school. Lila uses all her wisdom and means to try to improve her desperate situation. She designs a beautiful shoe, dreaming that this will lift her out of her circumstances. In the face of Lila's creativity, Lenyu once again feels her own inferiority, realizing that her mechanical education is nothing but rote memorization and lacks real meaning. As they grow older, Lila accepts a marriage proposal from Don Achille's son, Stefano, and her life suddenly becomes glamorous. However, she buys textbooks for Lenyu and encourages her to study in her spacious house. Lenyu later realizes that Lila has always wanted to keep up with her pace. By helping Lenyu with her Greek lessons, Lila grasps the mysteries of the language faster than Lenyu. Lenyu feels a painful jealousy about Lila's married life, as Lila transforms into the stylish women seen in American movies. But more than that, there's a kind of schadenfreude, because Lenyu will continue her education in high school, study Greek and Latin, and get closer to the boy she likes, Nino. Meanwhile, Lila is forever trapped in the role of a wife, stuck in the seemingly mundane Naples. If all Ferrante wanted to convey was the competition and jealousy between the two girls, this novel would not have the captivating charm that conquers readers. Above this opposition and rivalry, Ferrante portrays a profound dependency and understanding between women. In the conclusion of the first book, My Brilliant Friend, Lila discovers at her wedding that her husband's motives were purely driven by business instincts. He took the shoes Lila designed and traded them with the Solara brothers, who had mistreated her before. Her wedding becomes an act of betrayal, humiliation, and a joke. Lenyu might be the person in the whole neighborhood who empathizes the most with Lila's plight. Others only make crude jokes at the wedding. In the second book, The Story of a New Name, the contrasting destinies of Lila and Lenyu become even more pronounced. Due to her frailty and inability to conceive, Lila's husband sends her to a small island for recovery. There, she develops a romantic relationship with Nino, the beloved of Lenyu. Meanwhile, Lenyu is also on the island, living in the kitchen of a friend of her teacher. Despite her intense pain and jealousy, Lenyu facilitates opportunities for the lovers to meet. In the face of Lila's abundant passion, Lenyu realizes her own emptiness. Eager to experience a similarly intense connection, she succumbs to the advances of Nino's father, Stefano, the same Stefano who seduced the widow Melina in the first book. Lenyu transforms the pain stemming from her comparison with Lila into motivation for self-improvement and upward mobility. She becomes the neighborhood's first university student, escaping Naples to attend a teacher training college in Pisa. As for Lila, she defies all norms and constraints, fiercely battling her husband and the institution of marriage. She boldly pursues love, with Nino granting her a taste of the pure joy of thought and life, even though Nino is the most unreliable character in the tetralogy. In the second book, Lenyu also transcends social classes. She meets Pietro, hailing from an upper-class intellectual family, and plans to move with him to Florence. In the book's conclusion, Lenyu returns to Naples and finds Lila has become the runaway Nella, working in a factory. At this point, Lenyu is about to publish her first novel, inspired entirely by Lila's story The Blue Fairy, written back in elementary school. Lenyu essentially steals Lila's story, to some extent, appropriating her life. The second book of the tetralogy vividly portrays the individual discoveries of self-worth and the painful pursuits within. The title of the third book, Those Who Leave and Those Who Stay, suggests that in reality, Lila seems to have stayed in Naples, while Lenyu left. However, Ferrante intentionally seeks to describe the contradictions and ambiguities within this notion. The one who leaves isn't necessarily truly capable of leaving, as Lenyu's roots still lie in Naples. To truly leave, she needs to come to terms with her past and herself by staying close to Lila, clarifying her own abilities and boundaries in the process. On the eve of her wedding, Lenyu returns to Naples and learns that Lila has left her husband, taking her son Reno with her, and is working at a meat processing plant, enduring exploitation and sexual humiliation every day. Lenyu publishes an article in the Union newspaper, exposing the exploitation of workers by the factory and capitalists, which changes Lila's and her co-workers' circumstances. At this point, Lenyu appears to belong to the elite intellectual class, and she has overcome her feelings of inferiority. However, her elementary school teacher tells her that it's a waste for Lila not to continue her education. Lila is the smartest person she has ever encountered. This is likely the darkest moment in Lenyu's life, as she realizes that her novels have actually drawn inspiration from Lila. She goes to the factory to return the story The Blue Fairy, which Lila had written years ago, but Lila throws it into the fire as soon as she turns away. The imprint of the era is also very evident in the third book, as Italy's changing times are reflected in the destinies of every individual in the neighborhood. Enzo, the son of a vegetable seller, rescues Lila from her unhappy marriage in the second book. Afterwards, their lives are challenging, but they seize every opportunity to learn computer technology. By 1978, they start a computer company and become wealthy overnight, even challenging the Solara family. Meanwhile, Lenyu, who is married and has 2 daughters, becomes drawn to feminist and Marxist theories. She realizes that women are invented by men and desperately seeks to break free from the constraints of marriage, entering into a passionate relationship with Nino. Additionally, Lila's success once again leads Lenyu to question the meaning of writing and knowledge. The fourth book, The Story of the Lost Child, serves as the grand finale of the tetralogy, focusing on the middle and later years of the 2 main characters. These are life stages that few authors deeply explore. When Lila and Lenyu are approaching 40, they both become pregnant and experience the Naples earthquake together. They take care of each other's children, creating a mirrored relationship in the plot. Lila also encourages Lenyu to write articles with her, exposing corruption in the city. They sit at their computers, using the power of words to combat evil, reminiscent of when they used to read Little Women together in the courtyard. Lila's later years are marked by great misfortune. Lila's daughter, Tina, mysteriously disappears one day. This might have been caused by a photographer mistaking Lila's daughter for Lenyu's during an interview, leading the criminal underworld to kidnap the child based on that photograph. Lila firmly believes this, but Lenyu has never directly confronted this possibility. Lila's pent-up anger towards Lenyu erupts, possibly marking the darkest tone in the novel. Finally, Lila fulfills her teenage wish, which was to completely erase her existence. Leaving no trace behind, she disappears completely. Lenyu is aware that she can never achieve this, yet she once again goes against Lila's wishes by writing down the story of their lives, ensuring that Lila doesn't truly vanish. With this, their friendship spanning over 50 years comes to an unsettling conclusion. This story, spanning decades and encompassing various aspects of social life, with its straightforward and narrative-driven style, has triggered a phenomenon. I'd like to provide a brief analysis through the lens of the three most prominent themes in the novel. The first theme revolves around the dynamics of female friendship and power. Lenyu and Lila's friendship of over 50 years is not a simplistic tale of good and evil, it is fluid and unstable. Throughout the 4 books, at different stages, they often experience distance and even undermine each other's opportunities. For instance, Lila tries to get Lenyu to skip school with her, possibly resulting in Lenyu's parents punishing her and preventing her from continuing her education. They sometimes feel repulsed by each other, even cursing each other. In Lenyu's middle age, she occasionally wishes Lila were dead. However, the core of their friendship remains remarkably resilient. They are the only ones who truly understand each other's uniqueness and provide deep emotional support. Elena Ferrante's writing succeeds by not turning this friendship into a ruthless jungle code nor an idyllic paradise. The true power of Lenyu and Lila's friendship lies in its astounding authenticity and honesty. Born from everyday life, it evolves tenaciously within the gritty and distorted reality, devoid of any pretense or calculation. As the author herself stated, in the relationship between Lenyu and Lila, Lenyu, who occupies the subordinate position, gains a certain intelligence from her subordination, which causes Lila to lose her bearings. As mentioned earlier, from the adventure of their childhood, Lenyu has always been overshadowed by Lila. Yet, it's precisely this vulnerable self-doubt that drives her to seek growth through learning. Although, for a significant part of the tetralogy, Lenyu's social status is higher than Lila's, she only sees her own inadequacies and strives to surpass them, failing to see the numerous harms Lila endures. Simultaneously, Ferrante also notes that this friendship often involves not so much mutual help as mutual looting, stealing emotions and knowledge from each other, depleting each other's strength. A review from The Guardian states that no other novelist has depicted one person's ultimate exploitation of another person as shockingly as Ferrante has. This kind of exploitation can be interpreted from the most positive perspective. For Lenyu, Lila has always been the true source of her courage and the ideal self she hopes to see in the mirror. She has always wished that the brilliant ideas in Lila's mind were her own. Consequently, she can be easily influenced by Lila's interests and words at any time and place. Lila is the dazzling color in the story, her astonishing talent and beauty often causing us to overlook her vulnerability. At the end of the first book, on Lila's wedding day, Lenyu helps her take a bath in a wooden basin, and Lila suddenly says to Lenyu, "You must study hard, because you are my genius friend." The shock and bitterness Lenyu felt at that moment can be imagined. In the second book, Lila leaves her husband and moves to a rundown neighborhood with Enzo. Lenyu, who is already in university, visits her and Lila's vulnerability is palpable. In the third and fourth books, Lila increasingly relies on Lenyu's meticulous writing and the identity of an author to transform the ugly reality of Naples into textual evidence. Lenyu gradually realizes that their mutual dependence stems from the inner loneliness of women, who need each other as reference points for their development. This is also where this friendship gains the most strength and challenges the external world. The second theme is the concept of disappearing boundaries. The most valuable aspect of the tetralogy lies in its authentic and profound portrayal of women's desires at different stages of life. Some critics have noted that details like menstruation and childbirth, alongside knowledge and ideas, are given equal importance in the novel, a concept that can be interpreted through the notion of disappearing boundaries. Disappearing boundaries is a life experience defined by Lila in the novel. This term first appears in My Brilliant Friend during a New Year's gathering on the rooftop of the Carracci family's house. Amidst the noise and chatter, Lila experiences this for the first time, seeing the world in all its ugliness, imperfect bodies around her, the pitch-black sky, the Neapolitan dialect, and more. In that moment, Lila sees the world's inherent grimness, realizing that surface glamour only serves to conceal humanity's base desires. On one hand, this fills her with fear, but on the other, it contributes to her sensitivity, vulnerability, and strength. In The Story of a New Name, Lila's elementary school teacher asks her about Ulysses and she replies, "The novel is about how vulgar our lives are now. Our minds are full of foolishness." We're made of bones and flesh, we're all pretty much the same, and we only think about eating, drinking, and indulging. Disappearing Boundaries is not only Lila's unique life experience but also the starting point for how this novel deals with reality. From the first book to the fourth, spanning childhood, adolescence, youth, middle age, and later years, what we witness are the transformations that individuals, especially women, undergo at different stages of life, along with the sharp contradictions they face with the outside world. In childhood, they must contend with the scarcity of educational resources. During adolescence, they grapple with acne, swollen breasts, and uncomfortable periods. In middle age, they combat the suppression of desires in marriage. To counter their fragility and ugliness, Lila's chosen approach is to erase her traces. In the fourth book, when she and Lenny discuss writing, Lila already hints at her future fate. Self-deletion is a plan that sounds beautiful. I can't stand it anymore. The computer looks so clean, but it's actually dirty, very dirty. You have to leave traces everywhere, just like you keep defecating and urinating on yourself, but I don't want to leave anything behind. My favorite key is the delete key. Lila and the kind of women she represents have had a tense relationship with the world from the very beginning. Whether in education, love, or work, the world has never given Lila a fair chance. She exhausts her intelligence and passion, ultimately giving up her hostility towards the world. From this perspective, Lila's final disappearance should be the most acceptable ending for us. In the tetralogy, Lenu's mother also had a similar experience. As Lenu becomes a university student and later a writer, her mother takes pride in her achievements, but cannot escape an underlying fear. She dreads the possibility of her daughter falling back to the lower strata. She feels that things are always changing, afraid that one day her daughter will lose her advantages and she'll no longer have anything to boast about. She has no faith in the stability of this world. Lenu's mother's feelings, and Lila's disappearing boundaries, create a distant resonance. Lila can articulate her distrust of reality through a concept, while Lenu's illiterate mother cannot find such words. While the women in the novel have different expressions, they all feel and experience the sharp contradictions between themselves and the external world. The third theme is the relationship between women and their families of origin, as well as the relationship between women and knowledge. Family and knowledge symbolize the two core forces that shape a woman's life in the novel. Knowledge allows ordinary people to change their potential. Lenu feels she has always lacked Lila's genuine intellect. Only when she is with Lila does her thinking become clearer and more driven. With her education, she often realizes that Lila, without formal education, can see far. She says, "My mind seems empty." But as soon as Lila gives it a little push, it quickly becomes full and active. Lenu transformed a lot of others' knowledge into her own through memory, transcription, and exams, becoming a member of the community of knowledge and power. Later, she chose to marry Pietro because during meals with his family, she noticed that this intellectual household conversed differently from the people in her hometown. The discussions around the dinner table revolved around important topics. Lenu envied their ability to make the world's affairs their own, reflecting her desire to become a part of the broader world through the ladder of knowledge. However, in reality, Lenu has never truly been satisfied with the status she achieved. Every time Lila criticizes her work, Lenu immediately falls into the most dreadful self-doubt. She has become a certain type of person through her efforts, but her most essential motivation actually comes from Lila. For her, knowledge and social status are merely weapons she uses to conceal her humble origins and feelings of inferiority. On the other hand, although Lila cannot receive education, she has always maintained a psychological superiority over Lenu. She knows that she can harness her intelligence without relying on a wealth of knowledge, even manipulating others' admiration and followership of her. In fact, after she becomes wealthy, she takes on the role of the neighborhood opinion leader. When Lenu returns to her hometown, her parents are indifferent to her success in the outside world, instead admiring Lila greatly. This is because Lila possesses the genuine ability to survive in Naples. She understands the reality and power dynamics, and confronts them. Regarding women and their families of origin, especially the relationship with their mothers, Elena Ferrante has stated in interviews that the mother-daughter relationship is the core of all her books and that she hardly wrote about anything else. In the novel, both Lenu and Lila's mothers are seemingly ordinary, working-class women, but they exhibit powerful humanity in certain pivotal moments. Lila's mother even threatened suicide to prevent her husband and son from selling the shoes Lila had made to the Solara brothers. She knew that those shoes symbolized her daughter's dignity, but in the end, Lila's father gave in. The portrayal of these mother-daughter relationships in the book contains both familiar devotion and care as well as elements of hostility. For instance, Lenu's lame mother, starting from childhood, subjected her to rough slaps and reprimands, casting a significant shadow over Lenu. To some extent, her mother-in-law is the kind of mother she longed for. Even in the fourth book, when Lenu and Pietro are on the brink of divorce, her mother-in-law scolds her, saying she's frivolous, lacks a foundation, and is not content with her current situation, implying that since she climbed from the bottom to her current position, she should be content with it. In that moment, Lenu suddenly had an awakening and said to her mother-in-law, "For all these years, I've thought that you were the kind of mother I wanted, but I was wrong. My own mother is so much better than you." At such a moment, Lenu truly acknowledged her own mother. She embraced her mother's limitations and realized that her prolonged sense of being lost was because she had refused to acknowledge the origins from which she couldn't escape. Through this realization, the author presents the most tension-filled aspect of the mother-daughter relationship. Looking across the entire Neapolitan quartet, merely describing it as a female epic might not capture its complete essence. Because Italy's significant events in the 50 post-war years and the various changes in eras serve as a backdrop, interwoven with the destinies of the two female protagonists. However, regardless of everything, what truly sets the Neapolitan quartet apart is the breadth and depth it achieves in exploring female consciousness, allowing readers to complete the enlightenment of female consciousness through an extremely fluid and thrilling roller coaster-like reading experience. The clear, complex, sincere, yet possibly unlikable voice that permeates the quartet presents a significant challenge for us to understand ourselves, comprehend gender relations, and family structures. This is where its true power lies. Now, the essence of this novel has been analyzed for you. Let's recap the key points. Firstly, the Neapolitan Quartet is not just four separate novels but a cohesive whole. It's often defined as an epic about the destiny of women, and its author, Elena Ferrante, is hailed as an epic writer in the tradition of Homer and Ovid. Secondly, the quartet explores the rules and power dynamics of female friendship. The two female protagonists often engage not in mutual help, but in mutual plunder, stealing emotions and knowledge from each other, consuming each other's strength. Thirdly, the quartet authentically and profoundly reveals the desires of women at different stages of life, showcasing the transformations individuals, especially women, go through at different ages, and the sharp conflicts they face with the external world. Fourthly, the quartet also portrays the relationship between women and their families of origin, as well as the relationship between women and knowledge. Lila represents an intelligence and experience that cannot be molded by systems, while Lenu embodies a highly institutionalized, hierarchical accumulation of knowledge. Well, that concludes the content for this episode. If you enjoyed my video, please click like, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. Thank you.